welcome back. It's 7 years since the US toppled the Taliban in Afghanistan and since Hamid Karzai became a prominent political figure. With the US reviewing its plans for Afghanistan, is it time to review the country's leadership as well? Well, since winning the presidential elections in 2004, Karzai's popularity has been steadily on the decline. On home ground, he is often perceived as a puppet in the hands of the US. Many Afghans are unhappy with the civilian deaths and blame the weak government. In addition, the government has been ineffective in tackling security, development and corruption. This has affected Karzai's popularity abroad. Some speculate that if the White House is convinced that Karzai is not delivering, the review could propose creating a new prime ministerial role in Kabul to work alongside President Karzai. But Richard Holbrooke has clarified that is for the Afghans to decide.
Many people, including Afghans themselves, have called for a prime ministerial system, but the system of the government is the one set up by the Afghan constitution, and nobody should be trying to change the constitution except in accordance with its own provisions.
Well, we're still joined by our guests in Washington, D.C., Lawrence Korb, also in D.C., Hilary Mann-Leverett, and in Kabul, Haider Akbar. Hilary, can Hamid Karzai survive all the different changes in plans and the election coming up?
He may very well survive. I think that he figured out early on that just being the darling of the United States was not going to help him survive politically and rule Afghanistan. Again, I remember being at the White House in the first couple years of when the U.S. went into Afghanistan and helped Karzai form his government. He would call the White House repeatedly asking for help because there would be several challenges from insurgents in different provinces. And the response from the White House, particularly with the Defense Secretary Rumsfeld at the time, his influence was, well, you know, Karzai's got to prove his mantle first, and we have an interest in supporting various different warlords. So Karzai was able to maneuver around that among the U.S. Pentagon's opposition to his central rule, and I think he very well may be able to come out of this doing pretty well, in particular because he alone, I think, has focused on this issue of civilian deaths, Afghan civilian deaths, because of the U.S. Aerial bombardments. It would be, I think, difficult for some of the other politicians that the U.S. is looking favorably on. It's going to be difficult for them to raise this issue with such clarity as Karzai had, because they're looking to the U.S. for both financial and other support.
Lawrence Korb, the U.S. is looking for an alternative to Hamid Karzai, isn't it? It seems to be no secret.
Well, there's no doubt about the fact that the U.S. is disappointed in the corruption, particularly in the Karzai government. But I think Ambassador Holbrooke made a good point. It's really not for the U.S. to decide. The Afghan people have an election coming up. What our interest is working through the UN to ensure that that election is fair and that it's conducted the way that it should. And I think we have to be careful about not investing ourselves in a particular person in a government. That should be with whatever the people want. And I think if we can get the security situation under control and with more troops, we should not rely as much on aerial bombardment. That will help.
Haider Akbar, surely the Afghan people don't believe that the United States will support whoever they choose. Surely they believe that the U.S. has who it wants in mind already before the elections.
I think at this point, a lot of people do in Afghanistan feel that the kingmakers are in Washington, D.C., and that whoever gets the support from the United States will be able to win the election. Now, that being said, I think that the election process that's going to happen in Afghanistan, most people are concerned about the security dynamics that exist in the south and in the east, especially in particular areas in the northeast like Kunar and Nuristan, where the situation is very volatile and the elections might not happen in terms of full participation of the local population. I think that is the greatest fear among many Afghans, because we can further marginalize many of the groups and communities that are currently right now in a very destable situation in Afghanistan. So I think that is a major concern for most people here. But there is a perception within the Afghan community and within Afghanistan in general that there's going to be some candidate that's going to be supported by the United States. And I think that can be kind of dangerous to the democratic process in Afghanistan.
Mr. Akbar, Richard Holbrooke has this AFPAC mandate, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Is it the wrong strategy to put Afghanistan and Pakistan's issues into the same basket? I mean, is Pakistan's problems the same as yours?
Pakistan definitely has its own unique problems in its own unique situation that it's going to have to deal with. But because of especially the recent history and what has happened after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and the subsequent resistance and the CIA help and the Pakistani intelligence getting involved in Afghanistan, a lot of these issues are connected to what's going on the other side of the border. And this has been one of the major issues that needs to be dealt with by the U.S. administration that sort of was brushed to the side during the previous administration. I think we really need to focus on what's going on the other side of the border, because what happens in the borderlands between Afghanistan and Pakistan affect both Afghanistan and Pakistan, and right now it's currently having an increasingly destabilizing effect on Pakistan itself, an almost Frankenstein monster to what they had funded in the 90s. So in that sense, I don't think it's the wrong approach at all. I think it's desperately needed right now to engage Pakistan and to ensure that Pakistan is included in the regional process, because a lot of the problems and a lot of the main core problems are stemming from there.
Yeah, interesting that you say that. It's crucial that Pakistan is included. Hilary Mann Leverett, is it important that not only Pakistan is included, but the likes of India, maybe Iran, and others 7 years on?
Yes, absolutely. I think one mistake that is really that is coming to the surface here in Washington is this idea that the problems of Afghanistan and Pakistan are indistinguishable. People here do not refer any longer to Afghanistan or Pakistan. They call it AFPAC, as if it's one country and it presents the same problems. I think that is a mistake. We do need to have a rigorous, intensive regional diplomatic strategy that absolutely includes the engagement of Pakistan, but also clearly includes the engagement of Iran, that includes Russia, that includes India. Those are critical components, and we don't hear very much about them on their own as they regard Afghanistan. We need that kind of intensive regional diplomacy. To call AFPAC a regional diplomacy is a very serious mistake.
Okay, we're running out of time, so let's get a final thought from Lawrence Korb about this issue of regional diplomacy.
Well, I think you'll never stabilize Afghanistan without getting all of the neighbors involved, particularly Iran. Remember, Iran was very helpful to the United States initially in setting up the Karzai government. And I agree, you don't want to, the problems in Afghanistan and Pakistan are not the same, but they're interrelated. You will never stabilize Afghanistan unless you can control the border area.
Miss Hilary Mann Leverett and gentlemen, Lawrence Korb and Haider Akbar, thank you very much, all of you, for your thoughts here on Inside Story. And thank you so much, the viewer, for joining us here on this episode of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments, your suggestions, even your questions. You can email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye-bye for now.